Yo, 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 what's up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and we are doing another live stream. We had a fantastic live stream this past Saturday, and we did about 90 minutes of content looking at quite a few charts, a lot of listener call-ins, messages and so forth. Going to be looking at quite a few charts today. We're going to be discussing some earnings stuff. We did a little bit more research on the USO and overall bankruptcy issues or potential issues within the USO and oil markets with the futures. A lot of people saw that content on the sense of how badly they got hit, and that wonderful piece that I just put out regarding the Wall Street Bets trader who basically bought an oil's future contract for like negative $32 and end up taking those negative $32, and by God's graces it was able to get out of that contract without having to take fulfillment of the actual barrels of oil due to very lucky circumstances, and made profit on it. Molly, yo, what's up, man? Lady. So let's go ahead and jump into a couple things. If you have any questions or something, so forth, go ahead and put that in the little chat box down below, and we'll just go jump right into it. So first and foremost, we're going to be actually talking a lot about the USO market. So regarding the USO market, so USO is actually an ETF that is traded that owns, I think, 25% or something like 23%. I read on thestreet.com showing that they control the front month of the oil's futures. So today they got halted multiple times today due to very steep declines, because it basically crashed. Well, it closed down 25%, but it got down to like nearly 35%. Getting down there. What up, Anthony? Thanks for joining, my friend. Got down there so low that the triggers got halted and saying like, "Whoa, hold up!" Like, just to give you some context, the blue bar here in the back is the overall volume. All right, a billion with a B amount of shares traded in and out just today. All right, so this, I didn't believe that until I really went back to literally the monthly standings of the USO. So you can see here, goes back all the way to 2007. Okay, and you can see the volume down here. Even during the collapse of 08-09, we traded millions of contracts. Yeah, it was at $27. But you can see it just kind of died off, and then 15, 16, 17 kind of picked up again because it really got hammered really hard here. But then today, look at that volume. That is an enormous amount. So we can go to the volume chart here and just look like the previous weeks and months don't even touch it. Like, the amount of volume is just absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen it where the little icon over here changed from millions to billions. So that was my little like holy moly guacamole scenario of just like how bad things were truly hit within the oil index and of course they're scrambling due to the fact of the way the ETF is set up. They have to hold certain requirements and meet certain limits. And it's completely a scramble over there because they own too much of the front month, and they're trying to get the previous month loaded back up into May. It's not a good look for them right now. And it's again, the thing with the USO, this can't go negative. It can go to zero though, and we're pretty close there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a lot of people out there that know a lot more about oil than I do. And oil's not looking too hot, particularly with this. This is kind of like the shot across the bow before a potential larger declines and a lot of issues that are going to be forthcoming within the oil sector. So if you have, could be kind of a rough ride with a lot of oils. I had a couple people reach out and ping me regarding on if they should buy some oil stocks right now. I told them I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Pump it up, but you're gonna pump up oil. You're gonna buy some. You're gonna buy some calls in USO. How much are calls going for? Like, let's just go some May calls. You can get the $4 for 30 cents, and you can see there's a lot of open interest. A lot of open interest at the $6 going forth. I can't see myself touching this. This is just too risky for me, and I'm not too well versed within the futures market and even within the oil business. I just don't understand it. It's kind of like banking. I just don't understand it as well. It's just a little too complex. My brain's pretty simple. Yeah. We are crashing soon, or what? Michael, I don't know if we're crashing, but I know. Are you talking about oil indirectly, or are you talking about SPY? I think which my overall analysis that I wanted to kind of project this evening was that even with Chipotle and Netflix having really good earnings, I think that put a great little spin on things on the sense of kind of giving a guiding light to help people see a potential turnaround in the economy, even though there's been some negative aspects in the sense of people saying having lower unemployment and things like that, but they're saying projecting, again, no one has a crystal ball. That's my favorite saying to have, particularly within the stocks, is no one has a crystal ball. So being able to project outwards to hopefully see a return on capital, or maybe turn the lever back on to getting some people into the door in restaurants, into the doors on back on airplanes, and just kind of get the economy going again. Because the thing with oil too, so if you go to the futures market, and we go /CL, that's within Thinkorswim, and while the data loads, you can see that oil did rebound to like the $10 limit area, but even I believe it was further out. I forget, you can't see it here, but it was even the further dated contracts going out. The prices were around $30 or $40. So that being said, yeah, Anthony, like futures, a lot of things that people don't understand is the futures markets are not just paper trading things. These are actually have things behind it. So the pork bellies, the corn, the oils, the things like that, they actually have a contingent on it. Like if it expires, you're gonna have to deal with X amount of barrels of oil, and guess what? You have to get a truck or something, a container to take the oil from us, and you got to store it or use it somehow. Like, and it's pretty regulated. So just with the little research that I did, I wouldn't want to ever trade any kind of really risky bets within oil. So my oil trading career will never probably start, and I'll never want to touch it. So if there's any questions about oil, if there's any more insight that people know that I've kind of glossed over, you can go ahead and put that in the live chat, and we can kind of scroll back to that. I kind of want to do a quick little market overview. We can go over here to SPY and kind of give I believe what Michael was talking about regarding if we're going to crash or not. And we can kind of look at the technical side of things, and looking at the SPY here, we did get triggered on the lower end. So if you remember, we had alert basically out around 275, and of course that was triggered because we traded fairly low to like nearly 270. Well, I'm sorry, yeah, 272-ish, 270, so forth. Trading below that, and of course that was triggered, and I kind of made another alert, which I kind of wanted to move up to the 21, because on the daily chart the price has closed. So and if we look in the aftermarkets, it looks like we're up just maybe 70 cents from here, which is good. That's always good to be kind of slowly rebounding. Looking at that, but the thing is none of the moving averages have crossed between each other or crossed over each other. So the 5 hasn't crossed into the 8, and the 8 and 5 haven't crossed through the 21. So that is potentially so far so good. We are seeing a slight change in momentum here on the squeeze down here, and a little bit on the momentum chart here as well. This has happened in the past where you can kind of get 1 or 2 like darker blue days here on the momentum side. But as long as things didn't cross over, things should return to normal or nominal and continue trading sideways, depending on a lot of the good earnings that we had. Even though Netflix had a fantastic quarter, Snap actually did fairly well, and then also Chipotle crushed it. We'll take a look at those 3 charts here in a second and kind of give you analysis on that. So that being said, let's go ahead and little key takeaways here. Yeah, we did gap lower here on SPY. As long as we stay above like the 272-ish, 250, things should remain okay for trading sideways for not a potential downturn. But once you start seeing the white line, which is the 5 exponential moving average, cross into the 8, we could see a potential slowdown. Since it did close below the 5 and the 8 on the daily chart, that basically kind of means this little rally from basically the 3rd of April to basically the 20th of April is kind of reset. So we can kind of just basically really simply draw a little trend line here, and of course we cut through that, close below that line, and now we are basically in reset mode, waiting to see what happens, using the moving averages as our next basing kind to draw out the lines and look at what could potentially happen from here. Again, we don't like to predict, we just like to have the market give us what it has, and then we kind to look at what is the best place to look for the risk to reward on either the short side or long side, and so forth. I don't like to predict anything, I just like to see make a plan, as I have better words to say it, where I just like to see if it closed above the 21 on the daily chart. In my mind, that means okay, things didn't sell off that aggressively as some people might say. Yes, we did go down nearly 3% today, which could be, it's not normal during a bullish market, but this is a super volatile time. Of course, the VIX was hit 40-ish again. This is ensue with a lot of other volatility in markets. So this is kind of common within a bearish market in the sense of having huge ups and down swings. It's never all down and all up. It's a bear market is huge volatile swings up and down. So I think that's what we're seeing here. We just got kind of get too used to on the overall kick up from the lows of basically a month ago, literally at 320, and just had a nice little uptrend here. Because I don't like to draw trend lines, but oops, didn't mean to do that. Draw this sucker. Because we broke it here. Like, if you can draw that, like, it's a very simplistic trend line. I normally don't have to use it because it's just a line, but it's basically in reset mode. That's what I was just kind of wanted to come to. But you can kind of have said that just the way the moving averages have been reacting. So that's basically my take on SPY. I think that we continue trading sideways potentially. Maybe try to test the 21 maybe the rest of the week. Because again, there's so many things up in the air. There's so many things in the air with more earnings coming out. It's earnings season. And then with, of course, the lovely COVID-19 on some states potentially opening up sooner than later, and some states just opening up just tomorrow because of how bad the unemployment is and need to start a reset. Yeet says, what about DPZ for earnings on Thursday pre-market since last time they spiked to 25 cents on their earnings? Any thoughts? I forget. That's Domino. I know that. So DPZ. So I'm also thinking about DPC earnings. Let's see here. This is, what's today? Today's 20th. So I guess, again, like I say, yeet. I don't like to trade earnings. I'm going in calls tomorrow close because you said they open up on Thursday morning. That's a difficult call. That's a very difficult call. Again, it's your money. In my opinion, I wouldn't want to touch it because it's a crapshoot for me. It's hard to technically show you on the chart for earnings because it's such a radical point in time that it can go up or down. If I had a gun to my head and I had to make a decision, of course, I'm much more optimistic. I would love for it to go up, but that's again my optimistic brain and what I saw with Chipotle. Even though they're closed most of their stores down, they just killed it. So I think in retrospect of that, I think that Domino's could do better. So that's some more fundamental analysis rather than technical side of things and just the way my brain thinks about that. So I'm guessing a lot of people have that same thought process as well of like, hey, look, we can just go ahead and just jump into Chipotle, CMG ticker. This is basically up. It's at 8:30 right now, so we're basically I projected it up there. Let's see, right about this level here. So it's higher than we previously were a couple days ago. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like I would have not have expected Chipotle to do well, right? Like how is that happening? Like their stores are closed. Like I understand they do free delivery, but like, are people really getting that much burritos and taco bowls? Like really? Like okay, like so I guess Mickey D's and the Domino's are gonna do fantastic, right? Like they just have there's more Domino's than there are Chipotle's. I'm sure of that. But maybe Chipotle just has this super strong brand recognition, and people are like, man, I cannot go without my burrito and queso, like, and my chips and dip, and they just needed those, and that just really just pumped up the price. So if it stays above the 830 level, it's a huge gap up first of all on earnings, and you can kind of see what happened in previous earnings. It wasn't too fantastic, but once it gaps up, it could ride a little bit. So I want to see where the moving averages kind of come about. So if it opens and stays above basically the 795 level, it's continuously trading more bullish rather than bearish. I had Mickey D's for dinner. I refuse to eat Domino's. That's Dan. Hey, Domino's is not too. They've upgraded a lot of their pizzas. They're not terrible anymore. So that being said, if it closes above basically this level here on the 200 exponential moving average here, it's still considered an upward trend. And again, we can draw these little make-believe lines that people like. Basically here. If it continues to ride this line up, it's basically a trend. And the thing is, I like to follow these sometimes just because other people do them and they trade around it. So it's good to kind of have the knowledge base behind of what other people are thinking, really. And I saw another chart. Where was it? It was over here. I saw another chart that drew lines like this, and you kind of had that wedge cross here. I used to do this, but I never found too much experience with these different wedge crosses. So basically, meaning that it's gonna this basically line kind of comes in with the 200 exponential moving average we just talked about on top of this potential upward projection trend line here. So once it keeps once it closes below this line or this line, mostly the new line here, we could potentially see higher highs. Again, those are just if this happens, then this, then that. If you're very familiar with developing or coding, it's an if statement, or even accounting. I know Anthony is an Excel master over there, in the sense of if a cause or effect of something, or if it's greater or less than, it reverts to this scenario. And that's the way I like to do my trading, on that sense. So Chipotle killed it again. I think it was honestly more of a surprise for a lot of people, because their earnings per share was $3.08, and just the previous quarter was $2.89. Like, we're hitting, it's a pretty big number. Like, I think the expectation was just so low that people just didn't know what was going to happen, and it was basically one of the bigger food vendors that came out, because even the thing is like people are just trying to reevaluate everything. Like, when Coca-Cola comes out and says, "Hey, we're not going to sell that much Coke because grocery stores are not really selling a lot of those essential items," or a lot of people we're not selling those to the restaurants anymore. Like, those refills that you get from the machines, like that's a huge business for Coke. And guess what? And a lot of those stadiums you go to, when you get a hot dog and a Coke, that doesn't exist right now, and the Coke can't make sales off that. So it's kind of like a catch on resetting your brain and looking at potential stocks that kind of meet the criteria that we're currently in. And then the other one, which I have no inkling of ever using or understanding, is Snapchat. And they did fairly well. They're at $14, basically at $15. We're looking here right below the let's actually move this chart to like an hourly chart so we can see the after hours trading. Oh, and I go here. Oopsies, my bad. Style, show extended hours. So we can kind of see here, this sucker popped up basically to the 200-day moving average. I just don't. I didn't read the report on this one. I just looked at what the numbers were when it came out. So basically, they're trading right above here, the high. So let's go ahead and just create a little alert there, and then we want to go back to the daily. So, excuse me. So that number basically lines up with, again, the 200-day moving average, exponential moving average, basically right below it. So it had some attraction to it. So let's draw some fibs here. Draw here, high to the low, and look at that. It lines up right with the 61.8. All right. You can't. It's not science. I want to be clear. It's somewhat of an art form of the technical trading. But look at that conviction there. Like, all these different other lines kind of line up there. So it's hitting the 200-day. It's lining up with the 618 retracement from the high to low of previous moves. This is going to be a pretty big hill for it to climb above. It needs going to need a lot of momentum to kind of push through. What is Yeet saying? What he says, I heard, since my friend is a Domino's manager for my city, he said they got 5,000 new workers in my state and total of 100,000 for Corona's demand, and they said it's going to be a very good quarter. I'd consider inside trading, yeet. But pretend we didn't hear that. That was a great story you just told me there. I guess you could probably find that information somewhere online. But again, I'm not a Domino's owner, so I can see what happens. So I'm hoping, I guess you're projecting that Domino's is going to have a fantastic quarter. Did you say what calls that you were buying? Because you bought longer dated calls, right? Wasn't it like, was it something else? I think you commented on something. You basically said it was like 12 months out or something like that. Maybe that was someone else. I get confused. So Snap, a lot of correlation. Basically, it's going to have a hard time. If it does break above like this 15 level, it's a nice reset for them because it did close below the 21, but again, it closed the day of earnings, so it's a complete crapshoot. So we're gonna flip that coin in the air, and it landed on heads or tails, whatever your winner is, chicken dinner, and it closed way above where a lot of people were. A lot of numbers kind of lined up within the technical trading. I got May 1st. May 1st, you said. A lot of other people trading Domino's. May 1st. All right. May 1st. Molly's going for 424, so it's buying that for not 12 months out. Okay, that was someone else. Yeah, it looks like I kind of like the 400. So the move in basically Domino's is $45. Actually, no, wait. Let me go to the $38 where it currently is. So it could hit that $400 price target. So that could be a very interesting buy there. There's a lot of open interest there on that call, but the spreads are so wide. Are these spreads so wide even when the open market is? Because these are super wide spreads. I think this is what we talked about before. The spreads between the bid and the ask are just so wide, like $4 wide across so many different things. It looks like someone's selling the 500. Someone knows something here. Is this you over here, Yeet? Over here at the 500 on the May 15th contract? That must be you. Just joking. Because someone knows something down here. That's interesting. Or they could just be selling these. They could be selling these calls. But playing the other side. Because it looks like someone's selling the other end over here, the 195s. A lot of open interest there. But again, these spreads are crazy. Okay, you got 5-1. Okay, that's not you. I was just joking. I read what you said the first time. Sorry. Playing a jokey joke. Let's see. We got a new one. Someone asked. I saw something about Facebook. Someone asked about Facebook. I wish I could tag these things better. This chat really sucks. You had Facebook. Who was it? Oh, Joe. Joe, what do you think about Facebook earnings? When is Facebook earnings coming out? Facebook. Let's see. Looks like they're reporting next week or something. The 29th. So what is that? Thursday? Wednesday of next week. Let's see. Facebook. So I own Facebook stock, and I've owned it for quite some time, and I added it just a little bit down here, probably around like the 170 level, and I'm still. I added to it around 170. Got killed here a little bit, but that's fine. I don't know. Like, I think it should go up, right? It's actually up pretty heavy in after hours trading because I think due to Snapchat doing fairly well and showing positive growth there. And again, what I said previously, and I say all the time, like Facebook, Instagram, and the guys over there can just easily just copy and paste whatever the folks at Snapchat are doing with the filters or whatever stories. Like, not really all into that. I have an Instagram, but I honestly don't really use it. I just look up funny memes on it. But that's basically what I use Instagram for, and I really don't use Facebook. But I can see Facebook get a nice little pump up here just due to Snap having a really good quarter. So in the same face, it should follow through to Snap unless they come out and saying, again, complete coin flip. No one has a crystal ball, but they can say, oh yeah, we saw that the boys and girls in Russia are trying to buy the election again. I don't know. They can say whatever. H2O. I think I'm gonna actually write down a quick note for myself real fast if I can find my pen. Thank you very much, Mr. Penn. I want to do more looking into Yeet's DPZ calls because I need to look at that tomorrow morning just to look at the calls. I want to look at the call spreads, because if we look into the call spread, the options chain, it's so wide, and it's going to be hard to try to get that price. What did you pay, if you don't mind me asking, Yeet, for your call that you got on May 1st? And CJ 1997 says he got the May 5th. I'm sorry, the May 15th. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I hope you're safe as well. You're near your family, man. Yeah, so Facebook, I give you a little bit better analysis. So, again, let's do a little quick fib retracement. I always like to do these, honestly, since it's been beaten up so much. It has had a issue climbing above the 180 price target due to the fact of the 50% retracement. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a price alert here above here, and I want to create a price alert below here. And it looks like it's going to trade pretty high, so we can look at the earnings. It's next week, so it's going to come into May 1st earnings. It's going to be plus or minus $15. So $15 from today would put it to 185 or 165. So 165 would basically be right about here-ish, and then 185 would be right about here, which kind of would make sense. Again, I'm more of an optimist, so again, these are just my opinions on the market. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I like to do a little more conservative things. I would like to see, of course, Facebook higher, just for my case, because I own their stock, and of course for Joe's case, it sounds like he has calls in it for potential move higher. I think, again, this is very important here too, Joe. You've got to be careful with these moving averages. If the 5 crosses into the 8, and then the 8 and 5 cross into the 21, it's kind of a reset in the overall trend. We can draw those wonderful make-believe lines that everyone likes. We can draw these here. Nothing has broken here, so that's totally fine. Love those little make-believe lines. Going there. All right, so let's see. Oh, he did. Oh, you're not buying it. Okay, you're buying tomorrow. I forgot you said to say that. You're buying it tomorrow after the close, because they report Thursday morning. Any good stocks for tomorrow? I don't know what you mean by that. Like to trade? I normally don't do a lot of day trading. I do swing trades, and I do some earnings plays with really small capital size. I had to buy a call for earnings. Okay. What do you think about Apple weekly puts? Carlos asked. Asian markets just opened up red. I'm laughing my ass off. Let's see here. The futures are still up a tad here on the U.S. markets. And what do you think about Apple puts? Because of what they're saying about guidance on lower iPhone sales and due to a lot of production issues. So this looks a lot like Facebook, but it looks a little bit more beaten up. And we're hearing a helicopter come right over my house. I don't know if you guys are going to hear that. It's pretty loud. Because the thing is Apple did break above the 50% retracement like Facebook didn't, but it kind of failed here at the 618, and now it's coming back down, closed below the 21, which is not really the best sign to see. I think the puts, you're kind of, if you're still in the puts, and if you bought them 2 or 3 days ago, you're probably in a nice little profit if you're doing that, my friend Carlos. Was it Carlos who asked about Apple? Yeah. That the potential of it to go lower, that's going to be difficult. It did break below 21, but the moving averages haven't crossed yet, and it's such a small time frame for me. It's just a week. Because are you just trying to play into earnings, or are you trying to play after earnings? Because that's the 30th again, so that's Thursday. So basically, almost a week from a day and a week. The Apple's call at 300. So you're selling the calls? Oh, the puts at 245. Is there a reason why you picked 245? Is there a significant value there of some kind? Because it looks like if you had any value, it would be like the 256 potentially. The 256 because that lines up with the 38.2%, and that's the Fibonacci retracement on top of the 200-day exponential moving average, which is around the 255 to 256 level there for potential bounce if it continues going down. Because again, in after hours trading, it's slightly up. The futures are slightly printing up slightly here in the U.S. as well. It's hard for me. I don't like to go short. The couple indicators that I do look at, the momentum is going down. There isn't a huge volume spike due to this downward momentum. So it's hard for me to jump on board and buy puts into it. I would more or less like to buy the dip in that sense. That's, again, my opinion there. Taking a gamble on earnings for Apple. Well, good luck with that on Apple calls he's talking about. So you think Apple's going to go up on earnings, I'm guessing then. Unless you're selling the calls. Again, I don't know. It could be just like the Chipotle, like we just talked about that. I don't know if you were on that part there, Carlos. So basically saying that the overall market was just so surprised that Chipotle did so flippin' phenomenal. Like, literally they had no one in the doors physically sit in the restaurant and eat. Everyone had to do takeout or delivery. Like, they were just so busy that they were able to still beat their numbers. I think it was just more of a surprise. So that being said, anything, because this is a total unknown, writing some more notes down, 1 second. Total unknown territory market, especially for earnings for this kind of scenario. There hasn't been any time in current years and decades where we were sheltered in place, told not to go outside, only to go outside for essential things. And I think a lot of people are just trying to restructure things. So this potential first week or two, sadly, that's a lot of the big names with Apple, Amazon, Facebook. We just had Netflix report these huge numbers. But the funny thing is, like, wouldn't you have suspected that Netflix would have done better? So let's go ahead and just jump into Netflix, because I just wanted to do that quick bit. So Netflix was down today trading, but then in after hours trading, we're looking at $434. So basically where we closed at. But once I switched this to like the 15-minute chart, you can see it basically spiked up to $485 because it had such an explosive growth in users. I think it added like 15 million users this quarter, and they're saying they're going to add 7.5 to 8 million users the following quarter two of this year, which is all good guidance. But they're saying with a lot of the currency wars and headwinds within that, with the losing money in that sense, it just didn't make it look good on the books. For Netflix, like, this is it's very strange. Like, wouldn't you have guessed, like, what's everyone doing? Everyone's just staying at home, watching Tiger King and ordering Chipotle. Like, I didn't know the scenario was going on there. I think I did this on the Friday, or the last live webinar we did on Saturday. So I was looking actually at the price target at like the 456 potentially, the run up to earnings, and I think we could still hit that. I think people are gonna wake up tomorrow and like see that things weren't that bad. Oh, see, CJ's mad at Netflix. I'm sorry, man. On the sense of, again, but just remember, earnings is literally a coin flip. Like, it's you can have. I've learned this so many times. I always thought I was right. I'm a pretty thick-headed son of a gun. And it took me quite a few times to hit my head against the wall to figure it out that earnings is not my forte for sure. Again, because I don't think it's, if you can get earnings right multiple times, you would be a billionaire, right? Really rich, really rich. I think it's just too much of a crapshoot for me. Because Netflix, you would have thought, oh, they're gonna do well. Everyone's just staying at home. Everyone's talking about Tiger King and all the other stuff they have on the market now. But I think too, to take in consideration, which I normally do, is when a stock runs for 4 or 5 days previously to earnings, a pretty substantial amount, breaking out into new all-time highs is kind of a warning, like, hey, hold up, like, what's going on here kind of scenario. Maybe this move has already been priced in. So I think that's what kind of happened. So the overall price was basically a move of like $50 plus or minus. So if we look at around the 375 level to make math easy for me, we're basically kind of there. We're basically made that move already with people's expectations of what happens. Yes, they kind of blew away on some user growth and things like that, but revenue and everything like that was basically somewhat plus or minus, somewhat mostly in line. So I think that's what basically what happened on that. I'm sorry. Okay, wow, we're picking up some stuff here. Lewis says Tesla is, in my opinion, will drop to 500 mid. All right, let's see why you think that. Like, again, I'm a Tesla owner of stock, not a car. So you're saying the mid 500s? Again, anything can happen. Like, you're saying for earnings, I'm guessing. Looks like they have earnings on the 29th, so basically a week from, sorry, I need some more water. A week from today. And they're saying a plus or minus move, of $131. So they can easily come down. Again, Tesla has such amount of momentum of just people's capital and just their enthusiasm over the cars and the Model Y. Like, again, my optimistic outlook on this market is just like, yeah, I think in the short term they can maybe come back down, but I think in the long term they're going to be just fine. That's just my opinion on that. Looking at the chart, I think it can come down to 625 if this the selling pressure continues, because that's where be the 21 would kind of kicks in. I'm not. Let me do a fib real fast for you guys. Fib high to low. Yeah, I kind of. Oh, my bad. I can see. I know there's a crazy amount of lines on the screen right now. I apologize. It had troubles getting over the 618, which a lot of this is what happens on a bounce from high to low, is you get that particular push up to the 50 or the 618, and you kind of sell off to maybe a couple points. So again, anything can happen. I could see it going to a little bit lower, 500. I don't know. Like, I would need a little bit more evidence of that to happen. For potential what the move is. Let me see. Oh my god. Thank you for everyone who's just joined. Those stocks are expensive to play. I have QQ and SPY puts for tomorrow, though. And aim for greatness. I got Snap $14 call. Should I sell them at the open? Yeah, I guess if you had those calls, let's look at the Snap setup here. Depending on what your plan was, like, before you make a trade, you should have a plan. Like, I plan to sell this when it hits 50% of my initial profit target, or if it hits a certain price, or if I'm down 10% in this stock or option, I need to get out. So what was your potential plan behind getting into the Snap calls? Was it just an earnings play? So if it was a potential earnings play, and you bought the $14 calls, yes, I would get out tomorrow morning as the best price as you can, because I'm sure those are going to go pretty fast, unless you think it's going to continue to go higher. So you bought the $14 call, which would be in the money here. Again, it's kind of hard to tell you what the price is, but we'll see more in the morning. I hope that you got a nice little profit from that, my friend. You are going to sell. Okay, good. Lewis is saying that his friends work in the dealerships, and they're saying they're struggling to make sales. I feel like they are worried that people are worried about buying new cars. I can see that potentially. Again, for the quarter, like Tesla's such a hard beast to short. It has such a cold behind it. And they'll die on the sword for them. So it's hard for me to to bet against that a lot of the times, unless I get a little bit more indications on the chart. Then I can give you a better understanding for that. Yi says I'm going back into VIX calls for 5.15 because I think they're going to have a double bottom. That again, anything can happen. So. It's VIX calls. The best time to buy VIX calls is when the VIX is going down, because the calls are going to be highly priced right now, in the sense of having more a value into it, because of course the calls are going up, and with the VIX being higher, those calls get really, really high. All right. Yeet says, what is the expected move for DMZ? That we said it was like, what was that? So you have the May 1 calls. It's plus or minus $45. Yeet. So $45 from the price that it closed today. This can change a lot. So it's $45 on the May 1st contract, and then it's $38 basically for the Friday contract for those expected moves. That's what the market makers are saying. And Amazon is a bubble. Give it 1 day before earnings. You're thinking that Amazon's going to go short? Okay. Let me... All these MSs come in. Yeah, I think you can probably get the VIX calls cheaper. If you're going for double bottom, what he means by that is potential, instead of having like a V-shaped bottom, which would be up and then straight up like this, he's looking for maybe more of like a W. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just looking at the W, where potentially we can come back down to like the 245 level, or even the 220 level, like we've seen previously. Yes, so what I mean by plus or minus $45. So this, once the earnings come out, this DPZ implied volatility is going to be crushed. So this volatility is going to come down. So you see it at 133%. So once earnings comes out, because it is a huge volatile point in time for the option, the implied volatility is going to be raised due to a lot more volumes coming to the stock and a potential move higher and lower a lot more. So basically $45 and $38 are the plus or minus from the current price on what the market makers are saying. Not me, it's the market makers that are saying that. Also, someone says short Zillow. Thoughts, anybody? Zillow, the home thing? Is it just Z? I haven't traded that for a long time. I'm guessing you're shorting it out of the spite of people not selling their houses. Interesting. I used to own Redfin stock. I like that for many years. I don't even know what that's doing. Let's look at some fibs here. I kind of like it. That's very interesting. We're seeing, even though a lot of the other market participants are trying to go higher, but it is just trading sideways here and not getting above the 21, well below the 50% retracement, not breaking above the 200. Earnings a couple weeks out, 3-ish weeks, 2.5 weeks now, basically. So you're thinking going short Zillow. So bet you the options is this day. Yeah, this must be expiration here. Looks like there's not much volume here. There's not much open interest on this at all. You can see here, very little. So let me just go to May 15. Whoo, there we go. All right, looks like a lot of volume here. Ooh, a lot of puts. A lot of puts on the $35 level. So the earnings, what did I say it was? It's question mark, so it's not for sure, but they're guessing the May 7th. But I can kind of tell you it's going to be the week of May 8th, just to look at how high the implied volatility is there. By looking at that, we can see here there's not that much open interest on these markets here, but that $35 keeps on coming back. So they're saying plus or minus $7. Basically, it's rounded up to $8 from here, where that's where we could be at below 30 or above 42 potentially. I could see that's interesting. Actually, I'm gonna write that down as well. I appreciate that. That's a great look at there for Zillow for a short for May 8th. Great recommendation, my friend. Was that who was that? Is that Christina? Appreciate that. Aim for greatness. TLT is used as a hedge to believe at least that's how I trade it. Yeah, TLT is basically a derivative, not a derivative, but an ETF that does the bonds or the treasury notes. And the thing is, it's usually the inverse, and it looks like my alerts haven't been triggered yet. It's basically an inverse of, so if SPY or equities go up, this should go down, and then of course if SPY and equities go up, this should go down. So we're kind of seeing that correlation here as well. So it is a way to play a hedge on your bets, or it's a way to play some volatility potentially in the market, which is basically hedging your bets. I want to draw a quick fib here as well for TLT. It's way above the 718. That's interesting. So they're saying that the bonds could rally some more here. It's fundamentally, it's hard to understand that, but the chart's kind of telling that. Looking forth a huge gap up. Again, we're talking about bonds here. We're not talking about a technology startup company, and it basically jumped multiple days. It had huge volatility days, and just gapping up today on a huge bounce of basically well over 1%, and that's a lot for a huge ETF like this. That's super interesting. I kind of want to do a little bit more looking into this. I kind of like this, honestly. I like because I have my price target at 172.86 here. Like TLT to 175 looks pretty interesting. Pretty interesting in the short term. That would be basically my analysis there, CJ, on TLT. I like it to the upside, but I have to keep it on a very short leash because I'm looking here on the weekly chart, and it's been kind of riding up the 8 exponential moving average here for quite some time, and potentially looking for this to kind of flip the switch. So I really like the TLT play here, actually. So good call on that. Was that Christina? Was that Christina for TLT and Zillow? Like, you're killing it. Or who did TLT? The chat's moving too fast for me now. Again, I'm dyslexic, so reading is tough. How do I can't wait for DAL and IBM was amazing for me today. Were they down today? I know IBM had some weird numbers that came out. I don't even know who still uses their stuff. I know, didn't they just buy Red Hat? If you're familiar with Red Hat. Oh, it had earnings a couple days ago. It did close. Did it close above the 21? Yeah. The moving averages haven't crossed over yet, but once the 5 and 8 cross into the 21, then I can go. I can sanction going short. I do own Delta though. What did happen to Delta? I just bought those at like $20. Okay, it's still going lower, but it's whatever. That's just more of a crapshoot for me. It was just too cheap to buy. It's same with MGM, in the sense of I just bought that at like $7 or $6. Yeah, I bought that at $6, something like that. It's more than double my money in that. Yeah. Aim for greatness is telling you like, why the hell would I go long IBM? Let's see here. Okay, now Jackson's asking NIO $10 call. Is NIO? Is that China? Oh no, NIO. I thought NIO was that electronic car manufacturer. Pharmaceutical, man. Those bring back my days. The $10 call. Did you get the $10 call now, Jackson, or you're thinking about buying it? Because if you got the $10 call, you must be doing your happy dance right now, because that would be great right now, doing your happy dance for that. No, not at all. No happy dance. Okay. Definitely do your happy dance. Someone says the snap destroyed me. I had puts. I know that, but again, I hope that you had small size in it. Like I said, like I would have suspected that snap would have not have done great. Like, right? Like, but then on the flip side, everyone's home and everyone's doing the TikTok or Instagramming videos and dances and things like that. So it could be on that sense of things. I don't know. Thoughts on NIOs going up with the past 2 days, currently having $10 strike calls and thinking about buying into the $15 strike tomorrow. Again, this looks like they came out with some kind of drug. Again, I don't follow too many pharmaceuticals on these moves. It's a little bit, it's very time consuming for me. I have to read a lot of those reports and understand on what trials are going live, what trials are doing this. It's I guess I can Google this after the show. Let me write it down. Just kind of curious. NIO on what came out. I'm guessing it has to do something with COVID, right? Potentially. For going forth, like, so we can go from the swing high to the swing low here. It has not reached the 50% retracement. The 50% retracement would be around $12.25. It looks like, let's look at a larger time frame, like a weekly. It looks like still can kick higher, but again, I just don't know enough about this. I don't have enough conviction on understanding on why it moved like this, because it looks like it had earnings or something came out, they announced something, but we would need to know more. Thinking about WMT, that's Greg B, about WMT puts. WMT puts is Walmart. So you want to short the Walmart, eh? Greg B. Looking at it, I don't know why you would want to short this, to be quite honest. I would need to be convinced otherwise, just due to the fact of, so I think this is going to hit like the 127 up here. So if I do here, fib high to fib low, almost hit the 127, okay? So it kind of petered out here, losing some energy, losing some momentum. I think like the Walmarts, the Costcos, the Amazons are doing pretty well here during this pandemic because, again, there's not many stores that are open to do business, to do this overwhelming business in this kind of environment. It's hard for me to tell you to short this. It looks like it has earnings not way out, but May 19th. This has had a pretty big run up. I'm going to put an alert up here just to see if it breaks here. And I kind of want to see if it breaks down to this level here. And the reason I chose this level here was because there was potential high ticks levels here. So we're going to flip to this little special chart here. And I want to go to the daily side. And this is going to be, okay. So basically, there should be some support around the 128 level here. And then you can kind of see here some support back here at 125, potentially here going forth. None of the moving averages have crossed over aggressively into this. The momentum on the line graph here has kind of switched lower, but that's usually somewhat of a lagger. But the Chaikin money flow is pretty high. RSI is floating fairly high as well. And then the squeeze indicator is showing that it's still building momentum. Looking at a weekly chart, it just had a pop off on the squeeze, so this is probably what this is happening here. Kind of petering out, potentially coming into this special dividend here on the 7th, paying 54 cents a share. Not too shabby, by like 3.5%. Maybe less than that actually. Moving forth here, it looks like that's a tough one. Like, there's not enough indicators in the book yet for me to tell you to short it or me to give advice or my opinion on that particular short. There's not a underlining something that's screaming above this. The moving averages on the weekly look fine. The 5 hasn't crossed into the 8 for potential downside of things. I just don't see too much. A way to give you an example here. So basically this here. So if you said, hey, I wanted to short Wally mark up here, I would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But once that 5 crosses into the 8, that gives me some understanding. So when the 5 crosses into the 8, the next potential down pull will be the 21. And once those kind of cross over the 21, and then it's can potentially go lower. Yes, some of the moving averages are delayed in the sense of what's showing here, but I wanted to look at this chart here. So the MACD, I usually look on this as well. The main line hasn't crossed over the average yet. So to give you some explanation here, we'll go back to like SPY, who something that did cross over. No, it did not. Where was the one I looked at? Maybe it was on the 4-hour. So I did that wrong. Yeah, here it is. So the blue line you can barely see. I can scroll in here. So the blue line crossed into the white line here on the MACD. So this is the MACD. So my settings are 12, 26, 9, and they're using the exponential moving averages there for Wally mark. That's for that's for my the MACD. And what I was trying to say was, before I got distracted, was that the blue line crossed into the average line here, the 21, crossing over, meaning a potential dip or a turn coming, or turn happened. And the turn kind of did happen because we gapped lower on SPY and kind of I don't know if we're going to go lower or go higher. We'll see when we open up tomorrow and what the news overflow is. Wrong chart. Let's go this one. And can you share all your chart setups? Thomas, I cannot share all of them. I shared one initially. Sadly, I cannot share this one or this one as something that I paid for through a trading institution way back when, and I'm not allowed to share those. I can give you the link to where I bought them. I have to kind of scope that out first if that's still around, if there's like a time decay on that, if I can allow to share that. But once I get an answer back from them, I'll let you know and if I can share those or not. I just have to show the proper respect to the people who gave me the charts, and I paid for those to give them the proper rights to do so. So I hopefully you can understand that. Can you talk about Amazon and your prediction the next few days? Predictions, no offense, don't like to use that word. I just want to see what the price can happen. So this kind of basically comes back to the 8, which is the pink line here, and then the yellow is the 21, and then the white is the 5. So nothing indicates here on the daily chart that things are going awry and overall at the Amazon headquarters. Nothing's on fire. Looking at this, if it closes below this, again, this is on a super short time frame. If it closes below here, which is 23.21, it could potentially continue to sink lower, and then again, the next stop there would be the 2243. So we're gonna put this alert up here. Boop. So if it closes below that, the next potential landing strip that it can land on or potential bounce from is 2242. If it does that in the short term, and if it breaks again all-time highs, that's also a great sign as well. So I hopefully, was it Woods who said that? Who was that? About Amazon. What do you think about RTX? RTX. That sounds very familiar. What's RTX? I know that's the graphics chip. Oh, Raytheon. Oh, Raytheon just merged with someone, didn't they? At United Technologies, was that right? Did I pull that one right? I think so. So Raytheon does a lot of things. All I could think of right on top of my head is a lot of the missiles they do for air defense stuff. And of course, I know they do a lot of stuff now once they merge with that company, right? Was it United Technologies that do a lot of with components for airplanes? Not many people are buying airplanes right now. That in the sense of having the economy is at a halt for them. Looking at $48, and this stock was $243. Oh my God! Like, what the Hello Kitty happened? Like, that is crazy. Did you buy this at this level, or have you owned it since like 200? I didn't even know it got beaten up this bad. Like, did it have to get restructured for the buying? Like, I want to put this in my notes as well. RTX, and I'm going to put WTF there. It's not a ticker. That's what the hell happened there. To look into that, because it's kind of like almost like what BA happened. This looks a lot like BA in the sense of how it just ticked down, and it's having a huge heck of a field day on just trying to break above the 21 here on the daily chart. So let's kick this out to a weekly. We're looking at prices that it was trading at basically in 2013. That's crazy, and it just bought a huge company. Oh, he bought recently. Okay. Okay, that's great. That's good to know. I'm glad you didn't have it up here. I know a friend of mine he bought BA back around well over 350, and he held it all the way down and sold it at like 110. And yeah, I was like, are you sure you know what you're owning there? Anyways, this is super interesting. I kind of like this. I really do. I think this just I need to understand it more fundamentally, understanding of like what they bought, what happened. Did they have to sell some assets? Did they have to get rid of things? Because that's crazy. That is a crazy dip. That is a crazy dip. I don't know how it's going to get backed up to $223. It's got to take years to do that, just like the breakdown of BA, because I own BA. But Raytheon is a little bit more diversified, I believe, but BA is one of the major fulfillments for airlines. Between them and Airbus is the only competition. So that is very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Thomas, yeah, sorry, man. I really do want to share those. I just have to be super careful with that because I don't want to be getting in any trouble with that. Just need to represent the guys who created those. Yeet Yeet is asking for DL, so we want to look at Delta. So I basically have you can see here that again, Delta was just basically how Lewis thinks of Raytheon. It was just like, holy guacamole, like what the heck happened here? Like this is just a bargain deal, and I was probably twiddling my fingers that day, and I saw a bunch of red, and I saw something down 30%. I just thought about buying it. There was thought behind it, but I knew the government was going to come and bail them out, and that the climb back up to 60 is not likely anytime soon, but it can happen for sure. Anything can happen. This can go to zero, yes, but I think once they have funding secured behind it, they're going to be okay. And once hopefully the economic knob or spigot or lever or button gets turned on with the next couple of weeks or so, and people start to get acclimated on what airplanes are again and traffic and stuff like that. Water. Been talking for almost 90 minutes. Okie dokie. So I hope that helps you eat on DAL. So basically anything over 26, because again the moving average is still falling down here. The 21 is kind of trying to level off, and it looks like they have earnings on the 22nd. It looks like they have the same earnings as DMZ. So if you're playing this and that, you have a super fulfilled morning on that. Yeah, I probably agree. That's probably a good assumption there, Lewis, for the long term. Luke Morris has asked INSG. That sounds something familiar. Is that the inner... no, it's not that. I don't know what this is. This has been popping off. What is this? I don't know what kind of company this is, but this kind of falls into the price levels of between the 5 and the 8. So the momentum is still alive. I'm doing air quotes for you right now, because it has not closed below the 8 exponential moving average on the daily. Looking at this, we can go look at my little special chart here. So basically, it needs to stay above the $10.82 for a potential leveling off or continue trying to climb higher. It can go down to the 10.82, and if you're holding it for the short term, if it closes below the 10.55, it could be a slight change in momentum and trend, and potentially come down even more to basically the next level. It was $9.92. So I hope that helps you. It's a 5G mobile hotspot company. Why isn't everyone destroying those with guns and baseball bats? So I guess they're gonna do pretty well, right? They have to, people have to pay to replace the 5G connections across everything. Dell has earnings tomorrow morning. DPC day after. So 20. I'm sorry, 22nd is tomorrow. My bad. I'm seeing double. Thank you for the comments, Lewis. I really appreciate it. We're probably gonna cut it here soon, just due to the fact that I'm getting a little tired. Gotta get some beauty sleep to get the all fun stuff going for tomorrow and everything. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know. This video is going to render for a little bit, and then it'll go live, and you can watch it at your convenience from there on. I greatly appreciate everyone who joined in today. It was a lot of fun. I hope people learned something, took something away, and I really do appreciate it. Guys, gals, have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.